Hello there guys, my name is Jay or the A and welcome back to another episode of Space Engineers, where today we are looking at drones. And basically I wanted to look at drones and build some drones because the survival series ended with us crashing on a planet. So I feel, in my opinion, that drones will become ever more useful because planets are big areas to cover and there's only 4 of us. So we might need these drones to sort of sit around and become beacons for us so we can scout for the enemy and stuff like that and pick up on signals and all that other gubbins, which again is very useful. And they can also pick up on ores and things like that. So if rather than sending Bram out to go and find ore, or Robin or myself or Jeremy, we can just send out a drone. This will pick up any ores that we require and everything becomes just a little bit easier really for us, and these make our lives 10 times more efficient. So essentially what I've built here is something I like to call the Pascal drone, which I love, to be honest. I love the shape. It's shaped around conventional drones that you see nowadays with the quad propellers and the landing feet, and essentially that is what it's meant to mimic. It's meant to mimic that sort of design. However, it has got sort of a battery recharging facility with all these solar panels on, so this thing can go for long distance. So the maximum you can get out of the antenna is 5,000, so you can push it to that 5,000 meter limit, which is absolutely brilliant. So if you did want to take this out as far as it can go, that's awesome. And then what you could potentially do with the seated versions is build a bit of an outpost, and then you could fly this out a bit further, and you could sort of use it in a way that allows you to scout out for things, and again, enemy, ores, whatever you want to do. And it's just a better way of doing things. It gets another set of eyes in an area, and again it just essentially does what modern drones are being programmed to do nowadays. So it has some sort of cargo capacity which would enable you to carry tools and things of the like. So it has 3 cargo containers in here. It also has 3 cameras, one on the front, one on the back and one on the bottom for, of course, parking the thing. And yeah, it has an ore detector, 2 batteries, 8 solar panels and an antenna. Basically everything you need, as well as a remote control. Sorry, basically that is everything you need for a remote controlled craft. So it's very, very simple, but it is quite large. And one of the variants I have built is a little bit smaller than this and only has 1 propeller. So let's have a look at some of the other variants. So if we just head over here, I've actually got them all lined up. So this is the standard. And basically this button on the front as well, just to let you know, turns on the propellers. So if you do need to turn it on, you can turn them on via the buttons that are on all of the crafts. I've done that because the propellers can be a little bit annoying, sort of spinning around, and also there is a little bug where everything starts to hover every so often. So if I were to fly above this, sometimes, there we go, it starts to rise up for whatever reason. And I don't know why, it's just space engineers being space engineers, but it starts to hover off the ground and it's just a little bit weird. So just to counteract that, you can turn the propellers off and keep it sort of all turned on so it is recharging the batteries and everything else. Then what we've got is we've essentially got the Pascal P, which is the passenger version. Basically it has 4 seats on the underbelly. It doesn't have any cargo storage because of the headroom you require for these seats, so I've had to kind of get rid of that. It does have its downfalls, but again, if you wanted to transport all 4 of us, we can do. We can have me piloting, the 3 guys sitting there, and then the other 3 guys can actually be controlling another drone for all we know. So you could have like 4 ships flying around at once, and you could potentially take them on long excursions, which I think is a really cool idea, to be honest. We then have the cargo version, which is the Pascal C. This again is essentially 2 medium cargo containers, which really is its capacity. I mean, you could overload this if you want with more cargo containers, but I really wouldn't suggest it. Once they're full on some of the heaviest items in the game, it really does become a bit of a bugger to fly, because you do have to start relying on the tilt feature a bit more, so you can tilt forward and fly. But that of course means you'll fall to the floor a little bit faster, so it does get a lot more dangerous when you start to put more cargo into them. So this is really its limit. However, if you did want to, you'd have to add a bit more thrust onto the front, back and sides, and essentially you could probably get a bit more cargo in this. So this is the cargo version. I like this, and I like the fact that you could use this one, well, you could use 3 of these in tandem with one of these. So you could have 3 of these being controlled by the 3 passengers within this craft, and then you can have one of us piloting, which is brilliant. So you could literally send out a massive convoy of these, depending on how many people you've got and depending on how many people you could fly around at once. But essentially you can have a massive convoy of ships, just any variant of these ships, and you could easily just move things or transport things, and it's just, again, a really great way of flying around, I think. We then have the last sort of version of the big versions, the Pascal L, which is the loader. This is the one that you could use for manipulating and moving items. So say you've got part of a ship that's fallen over and you need to manipulate it. This version you can use to pick up that item and potentially reorientate it and whatever else. So this is kind of like the tug. However, I wouldn't suggest overloading it too much because, again, like the cargo variant, it does have its weight restrictions, and just be a bit wary of that because, again, if you are in a survival situation, things act a little bit differently, of course, with the weights and everything, so it may not be able to pick up some of the things you do require, but it's still useful for the smaller items. Then the last one we've got, which again is the small version now, is the Pascal Mini. This is the micro condensed version that basically is like a turbine, essentially. It's designed like a turbine, so it has like one propeller on the top, has a bunch of thrusters around the sides for the front, back and sides, and then it just has all the features of the standard one. However, it does require reactors, so this one does have a downfall. However, it is a lot smaller, so if you did want to use this one in, rather than using the other ones, you'd have to put fuel into this, which is a bit of a downfall, but the main reason why is because you can't really fit any of the panels into these areas because it wouldn't hold the it basically doesn't hold the thrusters in the position, and I can't move the thrusters down because there's also other parts getting in the way and all the control items in there and everything else. So yeah, that's really the only downfall with this one. However, this one could be a lot better for just using as an outpost or a beacon. So you could send this one out, park it up, leave it there, and then essentially have it running or ticking over as some sort of beacon, so you can find your way to a mining base or something or whatever, or a place that you haven't marked on your map yet properly with a space station. So yeah, that is essentially everything that I've managed to get built. I have, again, gone a bit mad scientist with all the different variants. I've got 4 variants of the big one and 1 of the small. I do have some ideas for a bigger one that's a lot narrower, however it's a little bit longer, and that would be like a super cargo version. But all of these individual ones are now on the workshop, as well as this world with all 4 in, so you guys feel free to download them and check them out and use them to whatever you want. Change the colours up if you want. If you don't like the colours, that's fine with me. Just change them if you want. I personally like this colour because it's kind of like a camouflage, and I quite like it when you're in like dense bush and stuff like that. It tends to really disguise it. I mean, you do still pick up, if I were to drop it into somewhere actually, so let us take this and put it somewhere out in this grassy field. Of course you're going to know where it is because I've placed it down, but if you were, new to this area of land, you probably won't be able to notice it from too far away. So if I were to zoom out, you can notice there's something a little bit off, but it kind of looks like a bush. So the camouflage is kind of doing its job, and really, when you really start to make out the shape, you can see there's something there, but really, like with all the bush and everything else, you really start to notice it about now. So it does work. It does work as camouflage. I was considering maybe putting dazzle camouflage on it, but dazzle camouflage is black and white and is only really good for snowy conditions as well as space. So yeah, that's essentially what I have done, and hopefully you guys enjoy the crap out of these because I've enjoyed building them, to be honest. I've enjoyed the thrill of being able to build these new crafts that I've never really built before, and I don't really focus on drones a lot, but again, with the survival series, how it's going, I would like to maybe push to do more survival drones and stuff like that, because there's lots of customability there, so you could change these up forever and a day. So those are the 5 ships. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed them, and hopefully you guys go and check them out in the workshop. There are 5 blueprint links in the description of this video, as well as a world, so each one of them will be named appropriately, so you can go and check out each one if you want, or maybe just download the world and get them all with all the mods in already and play about with them there. and you can maybe test them to high heaven and see if there are any flaws with them or whatever else. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, like, favourite, and of course subscribe for more, and I will see you guys later. Peace!